So today is a special video because we're talking about the bottom deal. I know it's so special because we're talking about it again, but this is going to be an in-depth tutorial on the bottom deal. I thought it'd be time to do a tutorial. I'm not going to be doing my specific technique because I learned that from the Annotated Erdnase. Good book. I recommend you go read it. And by special lessons with Jason Ledeni and stuff. So I won't be teaching my main technique, but since the normal expert at the card table is in the public domain, I'll be teaching my handling of it as in much detail as possible. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is there was a really good tutorial on the bottom deal made by Max Misteller, but that video has been taken down since his account's been deleted. So I thought, well, we need another good tutorial. And I'll be honest, and it's not me trying to be rude, there just isn't very many good tutorials out there. There's not enough that goes in depth on what the bottom deal is, or it's just a poor example of a bottom deal, and it just doesn't teach the right technique. And that can be devastating to any new card goer who learns this technique this badly and then goes and tries to execute it, and they're caught or whatever it is, and it discourages them. So keep in mind, though, it's going to take a while to get used to. I'm only a year into my bottom deal, and even though it looks pretty okay for only a year, there's still room for improvement. Now, a lot of questions is, why would I want to learn the Erdnase one or push-off one when there's a strike one? Or why would I learn this when I can have a full grip or an open grip or whatever? The Erdnase is basically the building blocks of every bottom deal ever, and it's very important for things like stud deals too. The Erdnase is one of the best bottom deals for a stud bottom. So that's why you would use it. Also, the one-handed bottom deals too. Perfect for those. So keep that in mind. Now that I've talked about it, let's get into the tutorial. All right, so before I begin the tutorial, I thought I should give a quick demonstration on an Erdnase bottom deal. So here we go. Erdnase bottom. That should be all 4 aces. I know mine isn't as good. If I were to really give a good demonstration, it'd probably be the stud version, but that would just that was me kind of just doing it. I don't practice that version of the bottom deal as much anymore, but I think it's important to show you the stud takes, the real importance of a bottom deal, or of this bottom deal, is the stud takes, and that's why I thought I'd demonstrate it too. So that's studs. Okay, so let's talk about grip for the deal first. Now, described in the expert at the card table, your middle finger is, just grab like a packet of cards. Your middle finger is going onto that corner, just the tip, and it's sitting in the crotch of your thumb, where your fingers would come together like this. That's where it'll be sitting, like that. And then your fingers are on the side. They can be straight out or not. Just don't leave them up here because that's bad because of knuckle flash. And the middle finger doesn't have to be on the corner. How I like to hold it is slightly off the corner, and that'll be perfect for getting used to strikes in the future. But not only are they off the corner, though, they're against this edge right here, like that, and then they're held like that, and that'll help with that that grip and stuff. And then just practicing dealing cards from that grip, because you want to get used to this grip. And it's a light pressure, enough that if you just push hard enough, those cards kind of buckle. But they don't have to be as buckled, just enough that it's going to hold those very few cards in, and the other cards are kind of just going to be sitting on top. And that's the motion you'll be using. Now, for my technique on the actual bottom deal, that was the whole that whole thing, right? You just want to get good at that. I'll teach sailing the cards now here. So you know how to deal. You're just placing cards down. I like to place with the middle finger like this. So the middle finger is going to contact the card, and then the thumb is, and then the pointer finger is just there. This is how you want to take cards for the Erdnase deal. And for most deals, you don't really pitch like this unless you're doing seconds, which we're not doing a video on today. We're doing bottom deals. So from the middle finger, always like this. This is the best way to be taking them. Trust. And then to pitch the cards, it's that take, and then this ring finger is going to kick as you're flicking that wrist. So it's a light flick, and you just go. And keep in mind, when you're pushing cards off, it's almost like it's on an axis right here. It's following like this. I know the tutorial seems kind of all over the place. This is just me explaining the nuances of just dealing from the grip in general. But you're just kind of pivoting, and you want to get good at this pivot because you're going to be having a retention like this. So it's important to know how you're going to be pushing cards off for this deal. So let's talk about the push-off and how I do it. Now, the push-off is what's going to be the most tricky here. So once you get used to your grip and being in your grip, the push-off, it's super tricky, kind of hard to get. But what you're doing is this middle finger or this ring finger, I do it with my ring finger. This pinky finger is straight and is barely doing anything. This ring finger is coming up, and it's going to pull this card back. So it's pulling this card back. If your middle finger is on the corner, it's just pulling this card back like this. You can see on that angle, that shadow, and pulling it out of that caught part of the middle finger. And what this is allowing it to do is it allows it to just slide out. You see how that card is stuck in here because the corner's stuck. So this ring finger is just going to cause it to slide out like that. And that's going to allow you to take it. And so when you do it fast, that's going to allow you to take it. Now, this is going to be very tricky at first. And if you need to build strength in those fingers, you can actually start off by coming up this far, like this, and pushing it out like that. And that's where I started. And even though it looked bad, you can start right here and just push it out and align it with that card and then take it. All right? Align it with that card and then take it. Make sure your middle finger's getting it and you take it. So that's super important here. Keep in mind, when you're dealing, you want to be dealing in a very seated up position. You don't want to be in a position, let's see if I can illustrate this, in a position where you have to deal scrunched like this, and you're forcing yourself, elbows up, you're forcing yourself to be like scrunched like this to be down. You want to be in a position where your hands are naturally hanging down, because hanging down is what's going to cover push-off motions. Like I just pushed off right there, and y'all didn't even know. Well, maybe you did, and I just suck, but you get the idea. So, let's go back over it. You may start off by fingers back, flexing, and then you're pushing that card off, and then you're getting it. And then I want you to evolve into where you're just using this middle finger, and it doesn't even need to come up all the way. It just needs to come up enough to grip the card. I'm doing a bad job filming this. Pulling it back, all right, buckling it backwards and barely sliding it out. You don't even need that much. You just need, it's stuck right now. All you just need that much, even less than that. And then you're able to deal it. Sometimes it gets stuck and you'll grab air. So just keep in mind that if you're grabbing air, you're clenching the deck too tight. Now, that takes care of that. So what about illusion? The illusion of taking a card. I can't actually demonstrate it with the Erdnase as well. So I'm going to demonstrate it using my strikes, but it's the same concept. When you push a card over, the moment your thumb comes over, the last possible second before it touches that card, it's pulling back, your wrist is going to bend down slightly, and that bottom card comes out. So it's not, this comes out, then you pull it back, then you take. It's not that, and it's not lining it up first and then pulling it back and taking it. So it's not this. Okay, that's bad. It's this. That visual retention that I'm taking that top card. Right? And you can just do that deal, right? And it looks like I may be taking that top card. I know my retention isn't fully there yet. I know that. But on the fly, it's almost impossible to see. But the retention is supposed to do one thing and one thing only. That's the illusion that you're taking that top card. So you need to get that down. And that's going to come just by practice. But again, the idea is your hand is hanging downwards while you're dealing, so you're not exposing this push off. You're going to push off like this. And then at the last possible second, before you grab this card, before you grab the top card, you pull it back, right? Like that. Those are what the actual push-offs. And that's how those push-offs go. So that's how you push off, that's how you take, and that's how the retention works. How does finger flash work? How do I prevent finger flash? Well, let's do a quick demonstration of the bottom deal at this angle, and I can review my finger flash, because again, I haven't done this in a while, but it'd be good to review finger flash, and then I can tell you how to reduce it. So I'm going to deal out some cards. I'm just going to deal out the whole deck, and you tell me when you see finger flash. I'm dealing the bottoms to myself. And my finger flash should be honestly pretty little, and you should barely even see it because of a couple of things. Thing number one, you won't see it from the front angles because you won't see it from this angle because you're facing away from my fingers. And you won't see it from this angle because it's going to be covered by the card anyway. The only dangerous angle is this angle right over here. And the best way to reduce any finger flutter or flash is to, one, do your push off before you do the actual deal. So I don't know if you saw that, but my push off is already done right there for that take. So that's a rhythm thing, and I'll talk about that later. Actually, I'll talk about it now. When you're dealing out your bottom cards, you're going to deal, and what I like to do is on the second card, you're pushing off. So now I'm pushed off, and that card is dealt. Then your third card or whatever card's next, then bottom deal. So 1, 2 we're pushing off, so now I'm pushed off, and the fourth card is I'm taking it for me. So 1 pushed off, deal. 1 pushed off, deal. 1 pushed off, and sometimes I push off and deal on accident. 1 push off, now I'm pushed off, deal. So make sure to reduce finger flutter, you're going to push off before you actually deal the bottom card. It's called a setup. Steve Forte calls it cocking the deck, cocking the gun. And that's in a different context. So that'll probably be in like bottom deal part 5 his game context. But right now I'm talking about this. So you want to get that card ready beforehand. The next thing is, and this helps with visual retention, as I was talking about visual retention, where you want to do that move. where right before you get it, you're reducing that card back, you're pulling it down, but you're also flicking that wrist down slightly. And so when you get good at it, you won't need to flick it down as much. But on that flick down, you're covering your fingers. So your fingers are naturally bending to the side of the deck like this. And you're coming down and getting that visual retention. So that's going to reduce it. And just so you kind of want to just keep your fingers stiff like this, where you're pulling past it. And because you're going downwards, it naturally stays bent with the deck. So that flutter is reduced even more. Man, this is a mouthful. Another notable problem is deck slip. And deck slip really comes down to how good your grip is. This front finger should help with deck slip because it's going to be covering all of the fingers above here. So if you're pointed downwards and then this finger's covering it and then this one's holding it here, you're going to have very little deck slip, okay? It's also good to practice with more cards that way. You don't have to worry as much for deck slip. You're going to have more deck slip, but you're going to be practicing with more cards. So, and thus, practicing with more cards, it's harder, which will make a full deck or a normal size deck easier. Man, this feels like an absolute ramble, and I'm getting tired, but I felt like this is just all important stuff. I know I'm kind of going through it kind of fast. I'm not a very good teacher, but I wanted to get some nuances down for this bottom deal tutorial, like I said. So let's talk about, what are we going to talk about? We've covered how the grip works, dealing from the grip, pitching from the grip, how the push-off works, the visual retention, deck slip, finger flutter, sound. Sound, again, comes down to how good your control is with the deck slip and how good your control is with the finger flutter. If your finger flutter is very little, that means your fingers are staying tight and it's going to reduce the sound. So I want you to listen to the difference between these bottom deals. This is with more finger flutter. Ready? Versus little finger flutter. So more versus little. One more time, because I'm kind of doing a bad job. So more finger flutter. Sorry, more finger flutter. It just sounds different versus like little finger flutter. It's gonna sound more, it's gonna sound quieter, and that's the goal. You want a quiet bottom deal. You don't want to cover your bottom deal with loud noise to cover the louder noise of the bottom deal. No, you want it to be quiet the whole time through. And if you're pitching the cards around, it gives it a little bit of an excuse for a different pitch and sound wise, a different pitch when you're placing the card on the bottom. So that covers sound. So let's talk about the stud takes. Now the stud takes are important because, like I said, they're important. And the difference between a stud take and a normal take is all you have to do is retention's a little bit different. Your push off is more straight. Instead of this, it's this. So you're pushing off straight, and once again, you're preparing that bottom deal. And when it comes, that's a bottom. All you have to do is pull it back right before your fingers touch. You're pulling it back, and your thumb is pulling out that card. And that's all the difference. Same push-off style, just that when you're pushed off, or same push-off style for these fingers, different push-off for the top.
once your thumb contacts the bottom card, it's pulling it out. And then this is getting pulled back and then flipped. And that's the stud take for you. So that's the stud take. Trying to think if there's anything else we need to talk about with the bottom deal. But I can't think of anything else. I may make a tutorial part 2, but I'm trying to think of any other tips that I would have found helpful. The main tips are, my main struggling points was sound, deck slip, visual retention, and grip. Those were all my most nuanced bits, so I recommend studying those parts specifically if you need more practice on all those things. Or if you're struggling with those are the tips that helped me personally get better at the bottom deal. So anyway, guys, thank you for 100 subscribers. I know this isn't the best tutorial, and I'm hoping it's more in-depth and more helpful than the book that people get. I hope it's easier to follow than the book that people get, especially for those that are struggling. And I hope that it's better than some of those tutorials out there. So anyway, guys, thanks for 100. Hopefully I'll see you all at the next one later.